Good. Um, yeah, the moving target aspect is really a critical point because so many people that invested early on, and then we get a new version of ChatGPT or whatever, and the functionality that they were building on is no longer there, or the effort they put in to overcome some shortcoming, the shortcoming's been eradicated. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's challenging from that. And then the problem is with regards to people really being willing to invest or willing to know. We've got a couple of categories. We've got folks like my daughter. If I try to talk to her about AI, she goes, la 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 la, I don't want to know. And then you've got people that maybe when ChatGPT first came out, they asked a couple of simple questions and they got back really stupid answers, or they went and tried to use DALL-E to for images, and they said, "Look at this thing; it's got 7 fingers. You know, it can't even doesn't even know how many fingers there are in a hand, or it can't spell because it can't put text into an image, and all these things." And they don't realize that on the one hand, most of those issues have been overcome, and uh, due to reinforced learning, among other things, that in other words, the AI just keeps learning, and as people tell them, no, that's wrong, it's less likely to make the mistakes. And then the other thing we realized that we users are to blame for almost all the shortcomings because we don't know how to ask clear questions and have clear requests. So as we've seen and learned the keys to good prompting, and the idea that you can't just take a single answer at face value, just like if you're talking to a human, you've got to evaluate the answer you get and say, gee, does that make sense? Should I believe that? Or do I need to ask a follow-up question? Or do I need to clarify? No, 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 no. I only mean this category of space that I want to have answers in, and so
yeah,
forth.
yeah.
So those are big challenges, and a lot of people once they experience a mistake once, that's it. They don't try anymore. They just assume it's not up to speed, and they think today that AI is the same thing it was a year and a half ago when they last tried or something.
Plus, they read articles about the risks, the potential problems that machines will take over certain things and destroy humanity. I mean,
Well,
there's a lot of scare stuff out there, so that prevents them from getting into the practical uses.
well, I think here my experience has been that the people who see the scare tactics, they don't so much avoid it. I sort of put this into the category of micro understanding of AI versus macro understanding. So it's like microeconomics versus macroeconomics. So there are
Uh-huh.
people who are looking at it and saying, okay, what's the likely impact on the world, on society, on economies, and all of those things. And there are people that are saying, okay, what could be the impact for my company, for my business, um, and there's problems with both because a lot of the people that are looking to say, oh, how can I get this thing to answer my emails, or how can I get this thing to make me a pitch deck for something? Um, they they're totally oblivious to the big picture. It's sort of like when I
Right.
go around to Rotary clubs, and I've probably been to about 100 Rotary clubs now in different parts of the world. And the when I talk to them about doing meaningful things, and when I mean meaningful things, um, it's things that move World Bank statistics. That's what I sort of count as a meaningful thing. If we look and say what are some of the most dangerous things are going to affect our communities, and of course I'm a global club, so our community is the world. But most local communities, if we look today, whether it's fires or floods or tornadoes, or the climate change, or the growing inequality, poor education, all of these things, they're not necessary things that you can handle within your own community. And even if we do look at our own community, I know when I attend pets here. I keep going year to year. I can't get anybody else to volunteer to be president. So I've been going to a number of these, and I hear so many talks about, oh, we do clothing drives for the homeless in our community. We have a tutorial program for the schools. And I ask questions like, oh, great. But how much have you reduced homelessness in your community over the last 10 years? Or by how much have you reduced the percentage of children in your community that are below grade level? And they sort of look at me and they say, well, we just do things. We don't achieve anything. In other words, we deal with the symptoms and not the causes of problems,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and which is the problem with the UN and pretty much the whole world. But so those folks who are just looking to say, what can I do with this right now? I sort of put them in the category of they're trying to deal with symptoms. So I'm trying to go and see how can we help Rotary really change its image? Because if we want to grow Rotary, just imagine here if Rotary projects, if some significant project being done by Rotary that was in the national news roughly once a month. And people they find out you're a Rotarian. They say, "Oh, you're a Rotarian! Wow! Oh, that's cool, right?" We wouldn't have anybody leaving Rotary. If everybody is looking up to them because they're a Rotarian, then people would stay in Rotary. But when you go out on the street, and I've gone out in the street corners and communities and just asked passerbyers, what do you know about Rotary? And most people know nothing, or if they know anything, oh yeah, those are the people they do the park cleanup once a year or something like that. Or oh, they give out some scholarships, or they do a pancake breakfast. That's not the kind of thing that's going to enhance your image by being a member, right?
Right.
So anyway, so
Can we focus on the RAG Council presentation,
mhm,
and in particular what I can add to it for how it's going to help WASHRAG be more professional, more prompt, and so on?
right.
Because I think that these folks in the RAG Council probably have not thought about this strategically. They probably haven't used it much. So they're going to be kind of curious. And I don't want to just say, "Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's best thing since sliced bread, and we're going to use it." I want to give them some real punch so
You
they
want to
get
blow
it.
them away.
Yeah, yeah,
You want to
yeah.
blow them away with possibilities, with what are the
Yes,
possibilities? I think in that regard, the people are going to look in two directions. They're going to look and say, okay, how can we increase the efficiency of the leaders of our rags or our clubs or zones or whatever? Or they're going to be looking at how can we increase the impact of Rotary in our different areas of focus. Those are two very different things. If I look here and say, oh,
yes.
you can organize the sending out, doing mailing campaigns and doing all those kind of things, that's one thing. But if you can look here and say, okay, what are the problems that local clubs who are trying to do water and sanitation projects, what are the issues that they have? How can we make their life better? It's sort of economies of scale, right? Rotary has a tendency, and I'll use membership as the example. Their thing is clubs, go out and increase your membership rather than going and doing things that that assist the clubs in being more successful. And I compare this to, let's say, a fast food chain like McDonald's. And a lot of people say, oh, McDonald's, that's the evil empire type of thing. But in reality, we have to remember the headquarters of Rotary, or the central function, or not Rotary, but the central functions of McDonald's, they don't eat all the hamburgers. That's not where the success of McDonald's come from. The success of McDonald's comes from all those people working in those central offices having only one purpose, and that purpose is to maximize the success of the local McDonald's stores all around the world. So I think the pitch is here for our RAGs and for Rotary in general. How can we use AI to maximize the success of Rotary clubs in every area of focus all around the world? Because if we can help maximize the success of our local Rotary clubs, that is going to enhance their image, and that is going to get more people to want to be involved because they're saying, hey, this is an effective organization. This is an organization that makes a difference. That's something I want to be part of. So
Right.
I would, yeah,
And I would say that's why, with the help of expensive advisors, TRF is now focused on outcomes and impact.
right.
Because if you can demonstrate the impact that our projects and programs do, that attracts partners and it attracts funding.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We have one project, for example, we're looking at. Rotary, I don't think has raised more than $500 million in the foundation in a single year. We are looking at a project, contemplating a project we think could raise potentially $2 to $3 billion in less than 6 months.
Wow.
And so, it's really thinking the impact. It's the our club. Uh, because we're global, we have sort of in our manifesto, we're about setting goals that are based on what's needed and not what we think you can do. Because what's needed stays needed, regardless if you pick that as your scope or you don't. But once we know what's needed, now we can focus our attention on trying to find solutions to address that's needed. So, and then hopefully here, I've had a couple of talks with Mario, and I think he's on board to that kind of vision. Hope to get some more chances here to follow up, because unfortunately, once our presidents become presidents, they no longer can do anything because all their time is made up of just giving speeches from then on.
And traveling around the world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
So let's look at a couple of things here. If you wanted to, um, maybe try to create first of all, when do you need this? When is the council meeting?
well, the council presentation is a week from today, I
Yeah.
believe,
Okay.
19th. And I have lots of ideas, but I'm sort of an afterthought. This is
Mhm.
really your fellowship presenting, and I'd like to make it practical with respect to WASHRAG and the cadre, because
Mhm.
we're building an alliance that's much more capable and much stronger than ever before. But I don't know if you know this, Bill, but I was on the operations team of WASHRAG in 2009 through 13. And one of the ideas which I had and which the operations team at that time agreed with was, why do we have our expertise in WASHRAG, and this cadre group is supposed to be experts. And then we have Engineers Without Borders, and they're experts, the professional group, not necessarily the students. And there's other WASH professionals. Why don't we have a unified database, a unified set of resources? And so now I'm actually in a position as the technical officer of WASHRAG to say, hey, let's do what we've been talking about for years.
Yep.
We have the capability now with AI, with teams focusing on particular things, producing stuff that can be useful, making it useful at every level, from beginner, intermediate to expert, so that everyone can improve the quality of their work, the speed of their work, and focus on real impact.
Mhm, mhm. I think I'm just my wheels are spinning. I hadn't really realized how close that was, how little time. Um, what what I could envision here is you don't want to just start off and say we could do this. You want to say what's the needs out there that if we could overcome those, that we would have much better results. And it's interesting when I joined Rotary, I've only been a member of Rotary a little less than 10 years. And one of the first things I got involved with was sanitation projects. Yeah, I'm sure you know the guy I'm thinking of. He's from near Melbourne, Australia. They call him Mr. Toilet.
You're
He,
talking about Jack Sim.
yeah, Jack
He's
Sims
the
from Singapore.
founder
I,
of the,
I've met with him,
yeah.
but this is an Australian that he gave a TED talk, a fantastic TED talk. There's a YouTube
Uh,
video on
I
it.
don't know that I know him.
Oh, anyway, I'll send it in the WhatsApp to you here because I've got his contact information somewhere. It's been a little while because COVID interrupted a lot of the flow of things that I was doing. But at any rate, he was very involved in getting the Australian clubs supporting the program to implement sanitation projects in India. He worked very closely with Jack Sims, and um, he um, at any rate here, so that got me involved in looking at India and saying, okay, what can we do? Because the approach was there, let's go and find a project and get involved in a project. My
Yeah,
approach in general is to look and say, okay, how do we make mass things happen? So, for example, I wanted to do something with youth and education here about 30 years ago now, I guess almost. And so in a matter of a couple of months, I conceived and ran three projects. We averaged 100,000 students each across the country, and managed to get the chancellors of Germany and Austria personally involved. So my feeling is um, aim high. In fact, a 14-year-old associate member of our club came out once and said, "Should we fail, let it not be because we didn't aim high enough."
yeah.
And so when I was looking at the situation, Prime Minister Modi had come out with his Swachh Bharat program there to eradicate open defecation across India. And I found a project called Design for Change out of Ahmedabad that has tens of thousands of middle school student classes or schools around India that get into projects to do crazy things, to come up and find problems and do something. So, for example, one school, the kids came out and said the condition of the roads in their town were so bad. So these middle school kids decided to go out and fix all the roads. So they organized, they recruited a lot of adults and everything, but they organized the project to go and fix all the potholes and all the roads in their village. And because the school bus was otherwise too bumpy and getting there. So this is the kind of things. So I tried to go and organize to say, you know what, make the for 1 year instead of just saying go do anything that comes to mind, say ask all of the schools to engaged in a project to eradicate sanitation problems in their community, because I think at the time there was about 600,000 deaths a year of children that were considered to be the consequences of open defecation. And I don't know if you're familiar. Did you ever hear of a project called the Nadia District in India?
Nope.
Okay, this is a district with about 5 million population in north eastern India. and they had 40% of the population, 2 million people, uh, had no toilets and were defecating in the open. And so there was a new sort of like a district magistrate came in, and he wanted to do something about it because not only did you have all the deaths, but you had all the children that were stunted and issues like this. He went to the schools. There was about 800,000 kids in the schools. He recruited the kids in the school to reduce their to recruit their mothers and aunts, and he organized to be able to get supplies, and he got these women to go and build toilets. Those women built 1,000 toilets a day for an entire year. Over 365,000 toilets were built across that district in 1 year. And in parallel, the kids went and put up like blackboard type things in every village, and anybody who was seen defecating in the open, they put their name on it on this board. And they got the temple masters to not allow people whose name was on the board access to the temples. And in 1 year, they drove open defecation from 40% down to less than 1%. And I think it was in 2013 or 17, somewhere in that neighborhood, this magistrate was honored by the UN for the most successful WASH project in the world. So it demonstrated what's possible, and I was trying to get this group in Ahmadabad to say, okay, hey, look, take a look at what they did here. And there's another effort, a Kerala district in the very southwestern part of India, that's by a guru, this what's her name? Oh, she's a sort of a religious leader there, and they have done incredible things also with online education programs, educating women how to build toilets and latrines and so forth, and organize the mass media. For example, in Nadia district here, the TV was going around saying how everybody was so proud that when you visited somebody's house, the first place they wanted to show you was their toilet because they were so proud to have one. The thought that I'm thinking of, AI is not the kind of thing that you do to target one group and say, hey, hey, you can use it to do this, because that's sort of like telling people how they can improve their productivity with their emails or things like that. But if we can go and say that we can use AI to have campaigns uh, where we have global campaigns. If we're looking at WASHRAG, okay, we got water, we got sanitation, we have these different kinds of problems. They have a certain number of solutions. To be able to go and, let's say, create a set of solutions where we can recruit the top experts in water and sanitation to help build knowledge bases for projects, for funding, for everything you need to be able to have a successful local project, and then be able to help build out campaigns to make everybody aware that these kinds of help and assistance are available, so that we can perhaps, in conjunction with organizations like the UN, go out there and say, hey, we're going to do a global campaign to dramatically reduce open defecation worldwide. We're looking to do similar in education, for example, and say right now we have roughly two out of every three 10-year-olds in the world cannot read effectively. So we're looking here, can we do a project? And simply by going and saying, you're going to do a project like this, you've got people looking at you. First of all, they might be looking at you to say, are you crazy? But they're looking here and saying somebody is daring to think they can make a difference on this kind of a scale. But the key to being able to make that difference is, how do we handle, we got 46,000 clubs around the world. how can we support 46,000 clubs? Well, if we've got a place that can answer their questions about a project, and we've got the templates for all the specifications. We've got the forms where they get queried about what's the nature of the problem, what's the soil types, how many people, so many issues like that, and it's able to interrogate them and then make recommendations for the kinds of solutions that would be possible, what it would take, and all the kinds of support they could get. Uh, these are the kinds of things that we could do with a chatbot. So you could have a website that people go to, and the first thing is they're greeted by an avatar that says, "Hey, welcome here, and we're here to help you be successful in dealing with any water and sanitation issues that might exist in your area. Hey, how can we start? How can we help you?" And because it can do natural language, and we should be able to accommodate probably about 30 languages pretty quickly, because that seems to be the bulk of the languages. Now, unfortunately, there's 5,000 languages in use around the world. So, 30 doesn't isn't that great, but those 30 represent probably about 70% of speakers worldwide. And with
Well,
just
Rotary has defined its official languages. I think
uh,
there's 6 or 7.
6 or 7, that those I'm sure are all languages that are readily available out there.
Yeah.
And there's a gentleman who has been doing a lot of research and study about using AI to develop courses. So to be able to say, okay, we will provide a whole set of courses about how do you analyze the nature of your problem. You want to do something with the open defecation in toilets, and it's not just a matter of building a toilet. You got to have it maintained, it's serviced, and all of these different kinds of things. And then you have to overcome people's prejudices. So in some parts of South Asia, for example, the idea of a reusable toilet facility is, you go in the field and it's new and fresh every time. That's clean in their minds. So the the idea is that you could be doing surveys among your members to find out what are the kinds of courses. But this guy's come up with a way that you can use deep research, and in a matter of minutes it will give you all the information that would be needed for a truly effective course on whatever you pick. And then you can drop that into Claude 3.7, for example, and it will actually develop the course. You can develop a multi-month course that maybe has 15 or 16 lessons in it, or less, depending on the degree of detail you're looking for. And But it even goes down and gives you the scripts for the videos. I think he's got a new version out since the other day that actually shows that it will create for you tutorial videos that show people how to do all the different things that are needed. And so I think the question is for the council to be able uh, to say the goal is to leverage economies of scale, because AI, like IT in general, is a develop once, deploy a gazillion times, right? So if we make it, now we can get an incredible multiplication effect. And the key to Rotary having more impact is by assisting, not telling people down at the bottom that they've got to solve all the problems, but assisting them on being successful. So that is sort of the pitch that I would make and start off saying, look, if
Yeah.
we really want to grow the image of Rotary, we have to do things that are newsworthy, that people are going to care about. And so we've got to set big goals. And the way we achieve goals is we're not going to go and roll up our sleeves in one or two places and do it. We're going to do it by leveraging our 46,000 clubs and by helping them be more successful, not telling them go make a difference, but assisting them in making a difference. And AI can help us in creating the vehicles that will let us assist the local clubs in being more successful.
Yep. So one way to demonstrate, I like what you're saying, Bill. I should just give you that feedback. One way to demonstrate this for WASH is to say, okay, here's a Rotarian who wants to do something good. You know, that's our motto, do good in the world. He's got his club excited about a possible project. They have an idea of a project from an NGO or from a host club. So it's at the concept stage. We feed that concept into AI and we ask, what are we missing? What are the core understandings you need? What are the steps to go forward? Um, so the conversation builds intelligence in the questioner
Mhm.
to the point where I have to say this advisedly because I don't want to rule out experts, but I want to find an appropriate place to plug them in. So this person builds enough knowledge that they say, oh, okay, I've got to think about sustainability, and that means financial sustainability, fitting with the culture. Oh, I've got to bring the community in early. It's their project. I mean, all these realizations can happen within 3 hours of conversation, maybe even less. Compare that to how people come to me or other WASH experts now. They say, I've got this potential project. Here's a write-up. What do you think? How can I get a global grant? And we're starting to teach them the basics of WASH, the basics of global grants, so that they're aware. And it takes a long time. You know, I may have joked about this in our call the other night. Um, we humans only talk through our mouths at a certain rate and hear through our ears, and we miss stuff. If you can have a quick conversation where this device is spitting out knowledge and know-how at every minute and then says, what else would you like to know? Would you like help with an implementation plan? Would you like help with finding a funding partner? I mean, we can give it the prompts these people can be asking to greatly ramp up their knowledge
Mhm.
without having to spend a lot of email time or read the 45, 50 page WASH guidelines, which I helped write. Um, that can be in the subtext, you know, in the documents that I think you mentioned LLM notebook or whatever,
NotebookLM, yeah.
um, notebook LM. It can be part of the toolkit that it's asking, but it's feeding the knowledge and the advice as it's needed. So this person quickly gets up to speed and says, okay, now I understand what this is all about. I've had people say to me, why don't you just have AI write the global grant for somebody? Well, because every project is different. It's not that smart yet. People have to do the stepping stones to get to the place where they know it's a strong project. And then, of course, submit it to the grant officer and get 23 questions back.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you know, when you go and you go in, for example, to Perplexity, and either you're looking here at here's all the events that are going on today. What do you want to know about? Or you go in and say, yeah, I want to know about something particular, and it gives you some information, but then it gives you a whole bunch of suggestions for follow-on questions. And or if I take a look here at ChatGPT on deep research, I don't know if you've tried that yet,
I
but
haven't.
Okay, so but if you go into that and you now can, if you have the plus the $20 a month version, it's now available, but you can only ask 10 questions a month. So you have to be a little bit careful with them. But when you go in and say, "Oh, I'd like you to do some deep research on this," and today it's really important that you ask it right. So there are prompt examples out there that'll give you a whole page because you have to say what sources are acceptable. You have to say what kinds of questions, from what perspective you want the deep research done, what kind of information you want the report in, and so on. But it when you do that, it's going to come back and ask you a bunch of questions. I've had it ask me as many as a dozen questions based on what I asked for, and so it expects you to answer all those questions before it goes out and looks for it. So it really wants to really drill down and understand what you want. So I mentioned this guy who has it develop courses for him, and he went out, for example, and said, "Hey, I want to do a course to for beginning piano players. I want to have a 30-day course for beginning piano players." And it came back and gave him a 40-page blueprint for step by step by step how you uh, teach somebody beginning piano. And so uh, the and one other aspect in this, and this is NotebookLM, for example, because we know that there's hallucinations and things like this, and not everybody knows how to deal with those. One of the strengths about NotebookLM and the thing called in Perplexity spaces, they call them spaces there, is you can in Notebook LM you can put in a number of sources. They're sources that you have curated. You know they're valid sources. So it could be, for example, all the guidelines that you referenced there, plus any other guidelines that Rotary has that people need to pay attention to, guidelines on how to apply for global grants, whatever this
Yeah.
is. And so you create these notebooks that are knowledge hubs for some specific area. And now you can provide the interface for people to be able to interact and talk to that knowledge base to find out, well, how do I do this? What do I need for that? What would be the outline of a good paper for this, or a PowerPoint presentation, or whatever that you can do, or to understand what exactly the rules are. And the idea is that you create notebooks for different specialty areas. So you can create those. And in the area now of something like WASHRAG is, you might say, okay, we have X type of scenarios out there of projects. If we take all the kinds of projects people do with regards to WASHRAG, and there's some sanitation projects that are done in remote areas, some that are done in more urban areas. We've got providing clean water. We've maybe got a dozen, 20 different areas of kinds of projects, so that you can almost get to the state that if somebody says, we got a problem in our local club's community related to this, we should do a project. It's almost like going to the library now and grabbing your notebook of all the consolidated knowledge for that kind of a project. That would
Yeah.
include dozens of use cases of other projects that have been successful, or some projects that have failed, where you can say, well, why did these fail? Why were these successful? And but what you're doing is, because so many times I've seen Rotary clubs and you talk about projects, and then they look around the room and they say, but we don't have anybody that's got any expertise in that. And so they just stop. The idea here is, hey, wait a minute. It's going back to that example of McDonald's. One of the reasons why they have economies of scale, the benefits, is McDonald's goes and creates, I don't know, probably hundreds of ads. So print ads, media ads here. And you, as the local store manager, you can literally just go and grab an ad template, and then it will insert your store's address and so forth and so on. And so the ability to almost be like that for local clubs, to be able to say for whatever kind of project that I'm thinking of that we have a need in our community, I can go up there and pull out the Bible, if you would, or the guidebook on how to be successful in dealing with that kind of a problem. And so I think here the question is, how do we get started? How do we start off to be able to build some of these tools that are going to make life easy for people in the field? And I think the first thing here is, if we take WASHRAG or we take BellRag or any rag or any area of focus, and get a bunch of volunteers to say, okay, now we're going to go out there and we're going to use deep research. We're going to do some with Grok. We're going to do some with ChatGPT. We're going to do some with Gemini, and each of the models out there, because they each work a little differently and they each have different strengths and weaknesses. But we're going to use that to identify all of the valid sources of knowledge and information relative to each of the kinds of problems that our RAG gets involved with. And so we'll build those knowledge bases very, very quickly. And then we need to provide the path, a chatbot, for example, a website with a chatbot that can interface the user to enable them to have ease of access. You don't want to have them sit there and say, I got to type out a whole bunch of complicated stuff because they might not be comfortable in their ability. But if I can just come in and talk and say, hey, we got this kind of a problem here, and I want to sort of brainstorm what might we be able to do and what might be available here, something very simple, no learning curve, and gives them confidence in their ability to make a difference locally. And then they can talk about, oh, but we only have this kind of a funding scenario here because the village has this situation, or I've got this problem because we have some cultural leaders who will be opposed to this because it's different than what we did 200 years ago, or whatever. So I'm thinking here that this is something that might even be able to be a week, might even be able to go and have a website uh, with a knowledge base and or a list of all the typical types of projects that would come up in WashRag or that have been done. We can look back over the last 10, 20 years and see what are all the kinds of projects and figure out how to categorize them. We can let AI do that for us. Then go and take one or two of those and do some deep research. When you do the deep research, I don't know if you've seen when in almost all of the tools out there, on the one hand, it will give you a paper with everything it found. But usually off on the right-hand side or whatnot, it will list embedded in the paper, here's the sources I use for this section, here's the sources I use for that section, and so forth. But over on the right-hand side, it will give you a list of all the sources that it used to pull the information together for whatever that report is. And we have
Yeah.
we have to realize there's a gentleman out there, he's a PhD, and he took his abstract. When you're going to do a PhD, first thing you have to do is you've got to sell your department here on the idea of allowing you to do your PhD in a certain field in a certain, so you have to give it an abstract. He took his abstract and he fed it into deep research in ChatGPT and told ChatGPT, I want you to write a PhD level dissertation on the results of the deep research on this. And even though he later on said, "Oh, based on my own PhD, I did," there was a couple of sources that it didn't find that it would have been good if it had found it, and it misinterpreted one of those the findings of one of the academic papers that it took. But by and large, it was not that dissimilar to what a lot of PhD candidates might do after 5 years of study. So we're at that kind of a level. And as we go out and we do multiple deep researches in the multiple tools, and then
Yeah.
you feed them back in a second time, and you say critique this dissertation and go out and find the proofs to each of the points, so you can really get it very far. We might be able to do in a week's time 1 to 2 project areas to actually be able to demonstrate a knowledge base that of how that would work. And I don't know how to even access it right now, but there's a new tool that's available since about 24 hours ago. It was talked about over the weekend, but since about 24 hours, I'm seeing people actually saying they're using it. It's called Manus. It's an agent builder from China. But what it does is people have actually had it create complete websites with chatbots, basically from just a few sentences of instruction. It's that powerful in being able to do things like that. At least that's what they're reporting.
I started to read about this. So, Bill, I want to really follow up on what you're suggesting because I think there's some exciting stuff there. These RAG Council people will know that there are different scenarios that come to their RAG. They're the people who are basically ignorant and want to do something worthwhile. They're the people who don't have technical expertise, but they've got some experience. They made assumptions, they made errors, and they want a shortcut. There's the experts that know so much about this one thing that they're blinded in other areas. So these patterns, I think, are readily understood by reg leaders. So the question is, how can we address those patterns using AI with a big notebook LM? So as an example, I can take all the Rotary training documents for global grants, for doing impact work and so on the presentations. I've got all this stuff. I could put together 20 Rotary things, and that would be pretty much all AI needs to know about Rotary projects. Then I can pull together, and I already have on the Teams website, 150 WASH documents that are reputable, that are good resources, and they're broken down by topic. Some of them are case studies, some of them are UNICEF guides, some of them are WHO guides, and so on. So if we can put those in an orderly way into NotebookLM or whatever, and then bring these scenarios to the attention of the reg leaders, I think that will create a quick understanding of the value for them. Here's a person, and I did this with the rainwater harvest situation. Here's a person in Nigeria who wants to do a rainwater harvesting project. There's some rain in the area, but they don't know what are the steps, what are the tools, is it household, is it community level, how big does the roof need to be, what do you do about bird poop? You can ask in 2 prompts and get pretty much everything you need to know in terms of general understanding. You still might need to hire an engineer at some point, but you've got a big wealth of understanding. The intermediate person who, I guess what I'm saying is we can create a couple of scenarios and use the tool with its um, compendium of resources to demonstrate how powerful it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think here, if you're able to demonstrate it, because I think if people can envision that person in that remote club, who knows where, that is saying, "Hey, I think here we would benefit if we could do this or we could do that." And the idea that they could come to a WASHRAG site, and that WASHRAG site says, "Okay, what is the direction that of what it is you're wanting to do?" And you're just talking to them, and the person is just answering. Well, I'm thinking along these lines, and the AI is asking him back follow-on questions that are refining the understanding of what would be involved. And then the AI comes back and says, "Well, let me give you a list of some of the things that you normally have to think about, and that it would be able to generate a PDF, if you would, but also just talking to them, saying these are the main categories. Would you like me to detail those out and describe your options of what you can do in each of these situations?" And
And can't we, Bill, give a list of prompts for continuing the conversation?
Well, I think
Like
we can do the
what?
equivalent of what Perplexity does, so that when you, and not only Perplexity, you can see it in Gemini as well, so that when you ask a question, it says, "Here's some likely follow-on questions you probably might want to ask," but you can ask anything, but
Right.
it's suggesting follow-on questions relative to what you asked about, uh, because other people have had those kind of follow-on questions, or there has been issues related to the answer, and these other questions will address some of the issues that came up.
Those two products do it better than ChatGPT.
Uh, I would say, yeah, you basically here your best tool for writing. And it's a little different now because 4.5, ChatGPT 4.5 is supposed to be really good in writing. I have not tried it yet. Most people until this week were very strongly in the camp. Claude 3.7 is by far the champion when it comes to writing the stuff, proposals, or doing campaigns to win support, anything that involves writing like that. Um, I like ChatGPT personally for brainstorming. And especially if you go into advanced voice mode, it's great with one caveat. And that is that you cannot in advanced voice mode point it to a document and or a website and say, let's talk about that. Uh, but you can trick it a little bit. For example, uh, if you have if you have a PDF, you can go out and get your cell phone, for example, to put the voice on, have it read the PDF, because the advanced voice listens to everything and it remembers
Okay.
everything. So if you read it, a document, now it remembers everything, and now you can talk about it. Um, so and you can do the same thing in Gemini, has the same thing. You can actually do the screen sharing, get your PDF on the screen, and you can scroll down pretty quick, and it will read all your PDF, and now you can talk about it and there. That's going to be overcome very, very quickly within, I would say, weeks, if not months. We're going to have the ability uh, to uh, to talk about to do everything with voice. You're going to be able to use ChatGPT Canvas. Have you used Canvas before?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's maybe one of the strongest things in ChatGPT right now. If you go in and you pick 4.0, you have to do it on a laptop. But if you pick 4.0, Canvas will help you write anything. It's like Claude Artifacts. Claude has the same thing. It's called Claude Artifacts. As I say, the writing, the style of writing is a little less robotic in Claude, but and you can only use it in 4.0. You can't use it with 4.5 yet. But what it will do is it gives you the ability, it splits your screen. And on the left-hand side of the screen, you communicate with ChatGPT about changes you want made to the document. And I'll tell you what, let's see, how much time do you have left?
Um, I could take another 20 minutes.
Okay, then that would probably be good. Let me see here. I'm just going to come over. Um, I'm just starting a chat GPT so I can show you this.
Okay.
Just 1 second here. Okay, so share close that and okay, so you should be able to see my screen right now. This
Yes.
is my ChatGPT screen. And so right now you see I can do search. This is deep research. This is the thing you only get to do 10
Right.
in a month. And here you select your models. This with scheduled tasks is very interesting because it's the start of being able to do agent things where you can say, when this happens, trigger it doing something else, or if a certain schedule comes up, trigger it. And so you've got these various models. But you see, ChatGPT 4.5 is still in research mode, so it's limited. So I'm using right now the 4.0, and down here you can see I can connect to applications. I can pull in files from Google Drive, Microsoft, or upload from my computer. I can do search, and it will include what's going on in the world, whatever I ask for is going to do deep research on. I can do the deep research, but again, I've only got 8 left, I think. No, I've only got 5 left for this month, so I'm cautious on that now. But over here on the tools, the 3 little dots, I can go and say, no, I want to make an image, or I can say, no, I want to use Canvas. So
Right.
I'm clicking here that I want to use Canvas, and now I can say, um, write me a paper on the kinds of projects um, in water and sanitation worldwide. Um, and I'll just say, okay, you can search the web while doing that. So I just said do it. Now I'm in Canvas, so you see it's coming up and it's giving me information. This is not bad, but it's nowhere near. Don't even try to think this is comparable to doing something with deep research, or if you're using Grok. I've heard a lot of good things about Grok. They call it deep search in Grok, but it's very similar. So anyway, it came up and it came up, and here's my conclusion and so forth. But I'm in Canvas, so open Canvas. No, 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 no. Okay, why am I not seeing that? Okay, so now you can see over here on my left-hand side, you can see here's the paper it wrote. Over here,
Right.
it's rewriting it. But here I can now communicate basically with this paper. But one of the some of the advantages that I have, and here we're into the conclusion. Okay, so it says now, hey, I've created the document on water and sanitation projects. You can review and edit it. Now I can come over here and I can change the wording just like I would in any paper and that I'm in editing mode, which you normally cannot do when you're in AI mode, but I
Right.
can. But over here, I can just say uh, here something like add a few
Tell it
examples
to add
of
us tell it to add a section on hygiene and hand washing.
on which.
Hygiene and hand washing.
Okay. So I did that, and I probably could have talked to it to tell that. Now you can see because in the little black circle, it's got a square that says it's working. So you can see it talked about the projects, and again, it's rewriting these pieces, but it's doing the whole thing more or less because it's adding this particular point, and it's going to come back and tell us what it did. But you can see we got a section 3 on hygiene and hand washing projects.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's rewriting those. Now there's a really powerful thing that as soon as this square turns is no longer a square, I can handle all kinds of things. But you can see I can do all. Okay, so now it says, hey, I've added the examples of hygiene and hand washing projects, including this, this, and this. So it tells you, do you want any other modifications? Now, notice here, I can take a paragraph like this one here that starts off with tippy taps. Look what happens when I go over to the right-hand side. And it just highlighted that one paragraph. And now I can say, here, editor explain, add a comment about efforts in Latin America. Okay, now I hit the up arrow on this side. And you notice it's highlighting the paragraph, just this one paragraph or the sentence. Whoa. Oh no, it didn't do that. It didn't add it. This is very interesting. The first time I've actually seen this. You'll notice it highlighted this, and over here it's got this little note, and I can click, and it says, consider mentioning similar efforts in Latin America where low-cost hand washing solutions have also. And now it says, do you want to do that? Do you want to apply that change? So I say,
It's
yeah,
like a comment. Yeah.
go ahead. It's just like if you were doing a Google Doc and you've got
Yeah.
other people making suggestions to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now see what it did is it expanded that one sentence to include that part. Now, down
Good.
here, you can see this little pencil thing down on the bottom of my screen, bottom right of my screen. And you
Yeah.
see there's some things up above it. Well, the things above it here, I can adjust the length of the paper. I can say my whole paper here, this is too long or it's too short. So I might say, oh, this is a little bit long. And so I say adjust the length. So it says keep the current length, make it longer or make it longest, or make it shorter or make it shortest. So let's say I decide I want to make it shorter. Then I just click on that and it will now condense this paper into a shorter version.
That's great.
Uh,
So one of the things I want to help ambassadors with is marketing WASH. And in order to do that, they have to have verbal facility with it at different levels.
right.
I'm going to give them a 30-second elevator speech, a 1.5 minute further explanation talk, a 5 minute high points to a club meeting, a 20-minute presentation. So this is cool because I can use Canvas to help
Now
generate
wait
those.
till you see the next piece though, but the next trick
Okay.
we've got here, because I think this will fit in, especially when we're talking many different cultures, many different situations and levels of education of people that well, there's here, I've condensed the text by 50% while retaining key information, and you're able to look at that. So now I can go up and look at this next thing. It says reading level. So I can keep the current reading level, or I
Uh,
can go to high school, to
oh, good.
college, to graduate level, or I can go down to middle school level or even kindergarten level.
Oh, lovely.
It will rewrite that to those levels. And then I've got this little thing here, suggest edits. So I can click on this and what this is going to do, you notice just like we saw before, it gave us a suggestion and it highlighted something. And I can look over here and see it says, oh, consider adding a brief statistic or example to illustrate the scale of the problem globally. Let's see what else. Then down here, it came in and it gave another example. CBS systems like those in Haiti. Could you briefly mention the example of a successful project, CBS project? And then down here, in appropriate technologies, it has another suggestion. So a brief
Can
example.
you have it go find graphics that illustrate points?
Yeah, actually, here what might be better for that is in when you do perplexity. Then in perplexity comes back with a statement. It won't do the graphic like this. It doesn't give you the editing capabilities like this. But when you take it over and put it into what's called Perplexity Pages, it will
Uh-huh.
suggest at the top of each suggestion and each section, it will make a graph or image suggestion, and you can go in and change it or say, no, I'd like this or that. Let's just take this one though, because this was rather interesting. This first question says access to clean water is a typical problem, and it's saying, gee, if you put in some statistics, this would make this more effective. So let's just say, hey, yeah, you're right. Okay, go ahead. Let's see what is it suggesting here. So it gave us and put in some statistics that would be applicable here, or the case of
Right.
the project in Haiti. Well, I think it's still cooking on the one there in the statistics. But we can do to each one of these. Here we. Okay. So now here
Thanks.
on the example with Haiti, say, okay, apply that to the Haiti, the suggestion. And okay, then I have one more trick I'm going to show you on this, and then we'll go onto something else. So it gave here one successful example is SOIL, a Haitian nonprofit, and gave examples. And of course, I could come over here now, and I can come in on this paragraph. Oh, it's still working. Okay, so now I can come in here and I can say, give a few more details about the soil initiative. So you can see here, it's now fleshing out that information. So I think you can get a sense of how powerful this can be.
Yes.
And now one last thing, and that's this: add the final polish. So I click on that. You always have to click on the up arrow to make it actually start. So we're going to see here what it's going to do with this. So it's increased the font size, some of the font sizes uh, on this particular one because I think it's because we summarized it so much. But normally here it's really going to uh, make this into looking at like a professionally edited document with all the proper fonts. It'll bold certain points in individual paragraphs that it feels are particularly important. Um,
Yep.
okay, so anyway, so that is that. I want to show you one thing here because we were talking about perplexity. Uh,
Is there a way to move conversations from one engine to another?
Not really as good as we'd like. There are some third parties out there that what they've done is like Perplexity. When you go to Perplexity, at least if you have the pro version, which is also $20 a month, you can say, I want you to use ChatGPT behind this, or I want you to use DeepSeek behind this, or Grok behind this. In other words, they have API connections to all the other tools out there. Um, I just want to okay, let me. Okay. Now Perplexity. Oh, I got to share that screen. Now Perplexity is free uh, for many aspects of it. So you don't have the pro version. I'm using the pro version, and I don't know if you get the deep research version if you're not using the pro version. So, but what I want to do is I just want to show you here. I'm going to take deep research and what it did is it tells you, hey, here's stuff that's going on in the news today you might want to know more about. But we're going to go do a deep research into oh, WASHRAG doesn't have the H, right?
It does.
It does?
It's wash-rag.
Okay. Okay, give me a table of, okay.
Before you click,
Oh, sorry about
um,
that. Just click that.
that's okay. Just going to give you some changes.
Okay. The thing I wanted to show you was a little different. So we'll see this in just a second. It should start. So you'll notice it's saying here, okay, I'm going to search the web for information on Rotary WASHRAG projects and related WASH initiatives in 2023. And here it says I'm searching the different sources that it's searching. And it did this one, plus it's got four more. Then it read all of these documents here. And I can just
Yeah.
mouse over them and it will tell me what it's read. And then it says I need to search for reports or dashboards that specifically break down the count of the projects, and it gives a whole bunch more sources that it is following up on. And then I found a range of information regarding the WASH projects, including the types of initiatives and their impacts. But I still need to locate an official report or summary. So now it's going and trying to find that. And then it says, if I found a page breaking down various WASH projects, but it didn't provide specific counter breakdown by continent. So he still needs to locate that. So it's still looking. So it says now I'm searching for a summary report that breaks down the number by continent for 2023. Uh, Going through and it says, okay, these are the different sources that it is using for that particular purpose. And then it says, I found several resources detailing various WASH projects undertaken by Rotary in 2023. And so we have a lot of stuff that it's coming up with now. So it's now examining the full content of the WASH project portal page. Uh, and it's going on. You can see up here, it's already now searched 59 sources for
Yeah.
information on this.
Okay.
And so the thing about it is when this is done, you can now load this into this thing called Perplexity Pages, and it will make this into a professional looking report on this that you can then export, or you can actually turn into a web page on a website. Um, okay, so this is it's still looking here uh, on on the deep research. Now, be aware that the reputation is Perplexity mm, gives you the most outline form. In other words, it doesn't give you a fancy prose on this. And this is why you would typically probably want to take the output coming out of Perplexity here and you load that into Claude, for example, and say, make this into an effective document. I want it to be a persuasive document. I want it to be a really hard-hitting document that will convince people to do whatever your goal is that you want to convince them to. Or you can literally take the report coming out of this or and the other deep research efforts, and you take and load those reports into NotebookLM. And now you can start to chat with the sum of all the knowledge that it found. And I only put in like two sentences at the top, but I'm going to send you a link to some people who really do this kind of stuff in detail. So here we can see this is, I'm just going to scroll down this quickly. You can see the level of detail of what it's coming up with.
So,
Um, And as I say, you take that and you can load this into Notebook LM, or you could drop it literally into that canvas that we were just working on over
Yeah.
there, and say, but I want to clean it up. Now, also notice over on the side here, it's got different information. It's talking. It has a video on the Rotary Foundation, but then it says here's images that I found that are related to this. So it's got a whole bunch of images. It's got videos that related to that. But notice down here, it lets you generate an image that you want that's related to the outcome of all of this. And it gives you the ability to export the response that came out of here, or I can come up here and it says I can add it to a space. So if I want to do a lot of research, different research projects related to WASHRAG, I would create a space called WASHRAG. Now I can go in and put in custom instructions. So I can put in like several pages saying when you're going and doing WashRag, I want you to double check the validity of the source. I want you to look for peer reviews. I want you to the reports that come out. I want them in this degree of detail by default, what the default is. And you'll notice I can export this as a PDF or as a markdown or as a docx, but I can also convert it to a page. So I'm going to click on convert to page so you can see that. And here, if you'll notice, here it's putting the global grants video at the top of the project, and it's coming down here and giving me um, paragraphs. In other words, this is making it really into something fancy. It's giving me exactly the sources that it's pulling the information from, and let this cook for a minute here because and then here's some key activities in 2023. So it says, WashRec supported a diverse range of projects in 2023, focusing on comprehensive water and sanitation solutions. These included drilling wells, installing rainwater harvesting systems, and developing water distribution networks here. And then it talks about the high impact project in Ghana led by the Obuasi Rotary Club, which planned to drill 50 new wells and blah blah blah. And of course, I could have taken any of these and go into more detail, and it actually gives me links to where I can find the source information on these different things. And notice this little thing here, add media. So I can go in and say, yeah, I'd like to add some media there. So it says here, hey, do you want to add this image here? Or I can change it, and it gives me a whole bunch of different images uh,
Oh, that's great.
that I might want to add here. So I click on that, and guess what? Look, take a look at that. It embedded the image right in with my text. I can also edit this text on this. I can go in and say, okay, I want to move this. I want to move it up. I want to put it in front of the previous section and so forth. But I can also come here and insert a new section in front of this section if that's what I want to do. So pretty pretty cool stuff. Would you
Yep. Yep.
and so I could take this, I could have taken that original work, I could have, as I said, taken it to Claude, taken it, I could have taken it over to Canvas and ChatGPT, and I could have said, make it longer, make it to be high school level to on that. And
Yep.
then I could have taken it and dropped it into Notebook LM. Have you looked at Notebook LM at all?
No, you and Chuck mentioned it. I really need to get up to speed quickly on that.
Okay, I'm this will be the last one we'll do here. Um, just real quick, Notebook LM. www.google.com.
I
Okay.
understand the concept that you can put a bunch of resources into it and then refer to it as like a resource for ChatGPT.
Well, no, you wouldn't do that. It's its own research. It becomes its own knowledge base. Let me go into one of these here. Okay, this course creation. This guy who he made and he put up six
I'm not,
videos in a sequence.
Bill, I'm not able to see what you are
I'm
doing.
sorry. I'm sorry. I got to stop sharing the old one and
Yep.
just switch over to share this one. Okay, so I'm in here. I'll just go back here to this is what I saw when I first came into that. It remembers who I
Yep.
am. So I'm able to go and look at these different things. And I said, let me go and take a look at my notebook about how to create courses online. And one of the things, it's got six YouTube videos because you can put YouTube videos, you can put entire textbooks, you can put websites, you can just literally point to websites. I took here the Italian Diplomatic Academy's website, and all I did was I came down here and I said add a source, and it says, oh, you want to add a website? Come here, and you just put in the URL of the website, and I did that for the Italian Diplomatic Academy. And then I said, make me a podcast. I'm going to show you how what that does in just a second. I said, make me a podcast where you critique the website and tell me what's particularly good and where are areas that could be improved upon in the website. And here it gives me, I can go to any of these. I click on that and I can get I can get a transcript of a summary transcript of that YouTube video, and I can look in any of the detailed aspects, or I can click here and actually watch the video if I want to. And here is where I can chat with the sum of the knowledge of all the sources. And I can decide, oh, I don't want to include this source in I want to talk to it, but don't include that source. So I can cover which ones I want to do there. But over here, I can ask it to create a podcast about the sum of the knowledge that I have here. But I can also go in. It gives me the option to customize, and I can say I only want you to do this customized for a certain audience, or customize it for a certain aspect or perspective out of all the knowledge that's in there, and it will do that. And I'm going to just click into this first so I can jump to the middle.
Hey, you. Ever feel like creating an online course is kind of like climbing Mount Everest? Tons of prep work, specialized gear. You might even get lost along the way.
Yeah, definitely can be a little daunting.
But what if I told you there's this two-step AI process that can make the journey feel like just a scenic hike?
That'd be nice.
Today, we're going to dive into James Merck's work over at Training Site TV.
Oh yeah, I've seen his stuff.
He's been, experimenting with how you create like high quality course content from just a research report and a one sentence prompt.
That's a fair question, and I think we should dive into the specifics of what Claude generates and how it all comes together.
Okay, I just wanted to give you a sense of that, what you can have. But what makes this doubly more powerful, if you would, um,
Let me understand, Bill. Those two voices were created out of the content.
yes, it looked at the sum of all the content, and then you've got two hosts on a podcast show that
Yeah.
talk about the content there. Now,
Okay.
where this really
Hey,
gets
you ever feel like creating an online course is kind of like climbing Mount Everest? Tons of prep work, specialized gear. You might even get lost along the way.
Yeah, definitely can be a little daunting.
Well, what if I told you there's this two-step AI process that can make the journey feel more like just a scenic hike?
That'd be nice.
I'm about to
Today, we're
click
going to
on this
dive into
join
James
button.
Musk's work over at Training Site TV.
Oh, hey there, what's up?
Hi, this is very, very interesting. Can you tell me what were the AI tools that the author used?
Hi there. So glad you're enjoying this.
Yeah, happy to get into the specifics.
The main tools James Mick used were ChatGPT and Claude 3.7,
He also mentions other AI tools for visuals,
such as FreePic and Google V2.
and he used Learn-LMS.
Good memory. Okay, back to the plan.
He's been, experimenting with ChatGPT and Claude 3.7 to create courses with AI,
Interesting.
and his approach is really turning head.
Yeah, I can see why.
What's really capturing people's attention is how he's using these tools.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I'm just wondering again, did he say how long it took him to create a course using these tools?
Great question. I'm happy to address it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he says exactly how long.
He does mention that the deep research phase with
Mhm.
ChatGPT could take hours, even weeks or months.
Right, especially to gather all the research.
But with Perplexity, the research phase was much faster.
Like 5 minutes fast.
And creating the course with Claude took maybe 15 minutes.
He was amazed at the time savings.
All right, so back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
His approach is really turning heads
Mm-hmm.
to streamline the entire.
So what you're saying there is this thing generated a podcast and then gave me the possibility to interrupt the podcast with my own personal questions. And it answers my questions. And if I had let this play out, you'll see later on it makes reference to the questions that I asked earlier on. I
Wow. Now the sources on the left, where did you get those?
Those I did a search on in well, yeah, I track certain fields in AI, and I came across one of those YouTube videos that the gentleman created, and then I went to his channel and I looked and saw did he have any other ones. So here he talks about how to create the course creation and whatnot. But here he's got one that goes into more detail how he did his deep research. So I went and I just came up here and I just said, "Oh, hey, okay, I have a YouTube video. I want to add a YouTube video." So I added the YouTube video and I clicked insert and it just adds it to the list. And it goes in and it analyzes and transcribes all the content of the YouTube videos. And then synthesizes the sum of all of those videos to give you the result that you can now have all your discussion with. But down here, I also have the ability to get a briefing doc, and I did that down here already. Um, So here's the briefing document. And so it gave me this briefing doc that went into all the details about the sum of the content of all of these things, including notes and quotes and key takeaways, conclusions to what it did. So I
Yep.
can do that. I can promote that to a source as well. It also told me what sequence here, and it created, I can do a study guide. And with a one button click, I say, make me a study guide to learn the sum of all the information that's in all of these. So it comes up, starts off a little quiz, gives me a whole bunch of quiz that I can answer in two or three, tells me what applicable, appropriate answers would be. Then it gives me some essay questions that I should try out, and that I assume that I would dump it in there and it would tell me. Then it gives me a glossary of all the key terms in the sum of all of these videos. And I could have looked at that and see down here, it says convert this to a source. It would have gone and moved it over here, just like this one here is was probably taken from a note. Um, and I can do the same with a frequently asked questions. Um, so here are the typical things. What's Claude 3.7 and why is it significant? How does it differ from previous AI models? What's vibe coding? That's visual and voice. What's the two-step method? How can ChatGPT deep research be used? What's the potential threat of AI to traditional course creators? What strategies can they use? How's the conversational approach be used, and so forth? So I think you can get an impression. I've had cases where I've gone and I said, break down third grade math. and tell me all the different little pieces of knowledge you have to learn in that year, and what the dependencies are. Things like, you can't do long division until you've mastered multiplication and subtraction. And so it connects all of them and then create for me lessons for each of the learning items that I have to learn along the way. So so the idea is now you can create, for imagine here, we go find all the sources for how to do rainwater collection for as water sources. Or anything, and you're able to go, you can find all the YouTube videos out there because you can do a search in Gemini, for example, to say, hey, find me all the really good YouTube videos that talk about rainwater collection, or talk about sanitation options for remote villages, whatever. And then you can load in all the videos, and now somebody who comes here, because if you notice up at the top, I have both analytics. It'll analyze what people are getting out of this notebook, but I can also share it with people so that they can come to this notebook now and be able to find a curated knowledge base on some subject matter. Now, in Perplexity, one of the things I didn't show you when we were there is on the right-hand side, if you go in and you do something, we saw it did, I don't know, 49, 59 or something like that, sources. Down on the right-hand side, it would have given me a text list of all those sources with their links. And there's a tool out there that works with Chrome, with Google Chrome. It's an extension that I can use that will just dump all 59 of those sources over here in one button click. So I can go in, I can do my deep research, find all the credible knowledge related to something, whether it's videos, whether it's books, whether it's academic papers, you name it. And I can literally dump them into here, and it will synthesize all that information. Now, to give a sense of how powerful this is, ChatGPT processes information at about 6,000, I don't remember if it was words or pages, per second. NotebookLM can process up to 2 million items per second. And this is amazing. For example, I could ask it something like, what at what second in each video is perplexity mentioned? I have no idea if that is even something that makes any sense. Whoops. So I think I lost you here. Okay, let me stop the sharing this. Yes, okay. Okay, we've got the recording on this, and I'm going to make it available to you. So I think you get the sense. I was just talking at the end about how some of these deep research tools will give you a compressed list of all of the sources that it found that had credible information about what the subject is. You might have to go through yourself and just go down the list and say, no, I don't trust that source. Just delete it from the text file that it would create. And then you take that text file to the Chrome tool extension that does bulk loading of sources into NotebookLM, and you create a knowledge base. I mean, this stuff is getting crazy. Okay, any rate, I got to sign off here. My wife is beating on the door as well. So let's take a look at it all, and we'll talk more soon. Bye.